Good morning. Well, it's Sunday morning and thankfully it's cooler. I had planned to camp this weekend, but Saturday was a shocker. It was so bloody hot. I wasn't going to do that. I don't mind hot weather, but not feeling 100% and the thought of lugging a heavy pack. No, not in that heat. So today, Sunday, out early and a bit of investigation. Now I'm sure you're aware that I like a bit of history, whether that's anything from sort of Neolithic right through to World War II, that sort of thing. Primarily in my own area, because when I read things or look things up, I like to actually go and look, walk the ground. So what part of history today? We're going back almost 1,000 years. 1066, Battle of Hastings, or just before it, before the armies met. I'm heading on the 1066 trail, as you can see. I've never walked this piece, although it's quite close, which is strange, I just never have, to a location at the top of this hill, which could be important according to the history, but I think there's a few mistakes there. In my mind, I've read the accounts, I've looked at the location on maps, and there's a few things don't add up. So today I'm actually going to go up there and have a good look round and see if my suspicions are correct. Let's get up that hill. I'm sorry about the wind noise. I'm on top of a hill. What do you expect? Now, why am I up here? And what puzzle am I trying to solve today? Let's try and find out. Oh, it's windy right on the top. Now, if the Norman army did land at Pevensey, over there, which is some distance away, probably 15-20 miles at least, and come to this point and camp, they may well have done, but not the night before the battle, like some parts of history try and tell you. And there's a couple of reasons for that. It's a nice location and it would be a good place to camp that they can see all around. But there's a few things that don't add up. Now, how this place got its name, Tent Hill. The history books say this is where the Norman army, or the invading French, however you like to think of it, camped the night before the battle. I think it's possible that they camped here, but not the night before the battle. And there's a few reasons for that. In the chronicles, which the Normans themselves wrote, because it's always the way, isn't it? The winner writes the history. They said the night before the battle, the two opposing armies were on opposite hills and they could see each other's fires. So, if they're camped here, then the Saxon army, or English army, was coming down from the north. They'd recently been fighting with them naughty Vikings and so on up on the coast there. That would mean they're over there somewhere. Probably that hill there, if it's correct. Now, why do I have a problem with that? We are about 3 or 4 miles north of the official battlefield. So why would an invading army camp here with the opposition camped over there the night before the battle, and then in the morning they all up sticks, approximately 8 to 10,000 men on each side, and march 3 or 4 miles that way, and then decide to have a fight? It doesn't make sense. Now remember, the Norman objective was to take over the country. They were obviously heading to London. Once they'd taken London, it was more or less game over. So they wanted to go north. Why would they leave a strong point like this for defending and go back south 3 or 4 miles to have a battle and fight their way north again? It doesn't make sense. It really doesn't. I think there's 2 possibilities to this story. Yes, I think probably one of the armies did camp here. But the Normans, when they were invading, coming from Pevensey, were working their way across to Hastings. I think they may have camped here en route, but then moved on and camped somewhere else before the battle. Either that, or they were camped somewhere near the battle site, south of it, obviously, they'd come from the sea, all along. And it was actually the Saxons, the English army as such, that camped at this point before carrying on south. They were coming from that direction. It would make sense for them to camp here and then carry on to the battlefield, just keep going south. It doesn't make sense the other way round. If an army camped here, it was either the Normans, well before the battle, not the night before, or it was the Saxons. And even then, I don't know whether they would have camped here the night before the battle. It's a bit too far away. Remember, we're talking about shifting an awful lot of men and equipment as such that they had, you know, a fair distance before the fight. They're not going to want to do that. I think one of them probably did camp here. Which one, I don't know, but not the night before the battle. Well, that's me just about done. Sorry, no camping. I just haven't got it in me at the moment. But it was worth going up here for the view. You probably won't be able to tell on this camera, but behind that electricity pole there, far distance, you can see the South Downs. And from this high point, looks out over what was the High Weald. It's a beautiful area, it really is. Well, I hope you've enjoyed that. I certainly have. And I'm a mine of useless information. So if you want any more history type stuff, just let me know. Right, I'll go back to the car. I'm knackered.